Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Annika and I are really thrilled to have reached this milestone within the student chapter. It was just about 3 weeks ago we came up with this idea to host this networking event, and well, here we are 3 weeks later, and it's really thrilling to be here. So my name is Jose Najera. I am a SHRM student chapter president, and I'll be graduating the OL program here at the end of summer. I'm joined today by my vice president, Annika Bennett. Well, she'll be completing her degree here at the end of the fall. We're excited once again to have everyone on board. If you're watching this recording, thank you for listening in, and hope you benefit from it. We are both happy today to be joining by our guest speaker, Mallory Newby. Mallory holds a master's in human resources and leadership from Sullivan University. She's a certified strong interest inventory practitioner, as well as a SHRM certified professional. So the power of networking has proven itself here in the last couple of days. Just about 2 days ago, we started publicizing this event. And within a matter of days, it reached several outlets from the U of L SHRM, the UCC, on Handshake, and it's just been broadcasted everywhere. So networking is a powerful tool. And once again, we're excited to have Mallory here to give us some tips and tricks on how to maximize networking. So let's get started. I'll turn it over to you, Mallory.
Well, thank you for the introduction and for inviting me to present today on networking. I'm really excited about the new start of the U of L SHRM student chapter and opportunities for students for professional development and networking. As Jose said, my name is Mallory Newby, and I am a career coach at the University Career Center, where I have the opportunity to assist students and recent graduates from the College of Education and Human Development, as well as the Kent School of Social Work. So if you're interested in learning more about the University Career Center, let me change it to this slide, please visit our website at www.louisville.edu/career to get more information on our services and resources. And feel free to email me today for any specific questions that you might have after today's webinar. I'm also very excited to talk with you all today about networking and share some of the information and resources that I hope you will find to be helpful. So for today's learning outcomes, we'll be looking at what networking truly is and why it is so important in your career management. And we'll also look at a few specific ways to start building your network, and then we'll have some time for questions. So let's get started. So what is networking? I think it's important to start by exploring this question because I found in my experience, working in career development that networking, it gets a bad rap. And so sometimes this idea of networking might seem like it's not genuine, or that sometimes it even seems sleazy. But, really networking is all about developing and maintaining contacts and relationships that you build over a lifetime of your career. So, with the hope that these relationships might produce some outcomes that will help you in developing work-related opportunities. And so these opportunities, while you might not immediately be handed a job, these opportunities may be coming in the form of leads. And so a lead is something that you would go after. It could be a suggestion or a piece of information from someone that helps to direct or guide you in your search. It could be a referral or a recommendation, which is something that comes to you or someone putting a good word in for you for a particular opportunity or a company. And then networking can produce advice. So getting some helpful information from someone you admire or respect about a career field. And you can also receive information by networking in determining what it's really like working in a particular career field. And then lastly, and very importantly, is support, which is very helpful in maintaining encouragement throughout your career. And something that I'll consistently hit on today is remember that networking is a two-way street, okay? So it's not somebody just doing something for you. It should be a mutual relationship where you are also offering assistance where you can, and when you can help that person as well. So networking is all about discovering and utilizing connections between people and tapping into the circle of friends, families, professors, previous employers, and U of L alumni if you're a student here. Remember, networking isn't about schmoozing or begging for a job, as you might have associated that term with, You really just want to be curious about the life of the person sitting across from you, and most importantly, be grateful for the opportunity to connect. And so why is networking important? Well, a lot of the studies that you'll find and research out there says that 80% of jobs are not posted online and are obtained through networking. So, I mean, this tells us why networking is so important. And while I still encourage students and graduates to stay connected in their search by looking on sites like Indeed or LinkedIn or higher ed jobs, that is a passive strategy for the job search. And it will take you longer than it would if you were to be more active in your search through networking. And so networking is one of the most important things that I recommend to do weekly for students and graduates, especially if they're planning to change careers or search for a new job. And this is something that you should do consistently, even after you found employment throughout your career, because networking is vital to staying employed, to professional growth, and to just staying current in your area. Some of the benefits of networking, there are numerous benefits other than just finding a position or looking for a job. You are much more likely to hear about job opportunities and, even more importantly, be recommended to the hiring manager by someone in your network. And so a strong professional network can help you, even in a job search, make important career moves. So when you've worked to develop that professional connection, a personal recommendation is likely to advance you straight to the interview stage or even further. So beyond that career search piece, networking helps connect you with the people that are doing the things that you want to do or that you're interested in, and even help you to become more successful and creative in your job. Networking helps you to build relationships with people who could become great mentors to you throughout life, which is something that's very, very important to your career and to your personal growth. So I do, again, want to emphasize that networking takes time, and it is something that you have to make an investment in towards that relationship. And so here is an image of the networking cycle, okay? So, you know, before we dive into some of those starting points, I like to show this so that you can see that it truly is a cycle. It's a consistent process. And so number one, you meet people. And then two, you're listening and you're learning more about them and getting to form that relationship. To number three, make that connection. And then four, this piece is sometimes where we may drop the ball a little bit, but following up after you've connected and thanking them for the opportunity to connect and staying in touch with them over time, which is that last piece. So by understanding that once you've made connections, you need to stay in touch. And that's how the relationship is developed and cultivated over time. It's not about directly asking for a job or a lead, but by laying down the foundation of our relationship that is mutually beneficial. So let's look at some tips, and then we'll get into even more specific action steps for you as you build your professional network. First, acknowledge the contacts that you likely already have. So a good way to do this is to create a central location for your contacts. So, we've probably gotten away from the old method of collecting business cards and storing them in a Rolodex, if you can even remember what that is. What you would want to do is create a space where you can keep their contact information. So I'm going to first suggest LinkedIn, because this is a really good place to keep all your connections and keep them connected to you. But we know that not everyone that we meet is going to be on there. Most people will, but it's a good idea to keep a spreadsheet with your contacts and their information. And so after today's webinar, we will pass along a networking tracking tool that I think is really helpful. It's a spreadsheet to where you can keep track of all of the connections that you've made, as well as some of the pieces that go along with staying in touch. So when you last spoke, what were some of those action steps? And we'll send that out. But FYI, if you're already using LinkedIn, you can actually export your connections from LinkedIn and generate a list of connections you have there in an Excel spreadsheet. And so Jose, I think, has that link. If he would put that in the chat, there's some instructions on how you can actually do that and see who you have and their email addresses and all that good stuff. And then, you know, next, look more closely at the existing relationships that you have. Are you connected with them on LinkedIn? Think about your past and present colleagues, supervisors, professors. This is really one of the best ways to get started, is to start with the people that you already know. Make sure that you have their information, that you're maintaining that relationship. If they're not on LinkedIn, maybe send them an email to reconnect. Check in on them, see how things are going. Especially now in the pandemic, this presents a really good opportunity to see how someone is doing, and if you're in a position to help them. Don't forget about your friends in similar professions, and then we'll look a little bit more about how to connect with alumni at U of L, but even classmates, professors, staff, people that you've met along your journey here. And don't just connect with people when you need them. Invest again in that relationship and stay in touch, even if it's just the occasional message to ask how someone is doing. So the stronger the relationships you have with your contacts, the more they'll be willing to help you out. And then another piece to networking is working to focus on opportunities to grow your resume and network with experiences. So we'll look at some specific opportunities here in just a minute, but you want to look for opportunities to volunteer, join boards, social networks, and other experiences that'll expose you to a broad universe of people. So, you know, when I first started here at the University of Louisville, I would often look for opportunities to volunteer and sign up to get to meet people and get to connect with other people on campus. And so a part of networking, again, in that networking cycle, is following up and staying in touch. And so to do this, you need to create a space where you have a regular practice of curiosity conversations. And so what that is, you know, you're looking to build relationships with your contacts. So that's partly you asking them questions and getting to know them. So, you know, it might be asking about their background, how they got into a particular industry, what skills and experience they recommend to get into the field, or even just general advice. And here in the Career Center, we encourage this with students. We call these informational interviews. And so this is you reaching out to someone without the pressure of feeling like you're asking for anything other than their time. So, you know, if you're currently looking, or if you're currently working, look around your organization and identify individuals you don't know very well. Once you've established a connection there, maybe ask that person to meet virtually with the purpose of learning about their path, their challenges, successes, and lessons learned. And then after you've connected, you could even ask them if they know anyone else that you should talk to make even more connections. And then lastly, strive to cultivate your network. You can't let your network sit dormant and then expect to receive the professional networking benefits. The cultivation really is key. So that phrase, what goes around comes around, is worth keeping in mind. And if you have a chance to help someone, take it, because that stuff is not forgotten. Share valuable information. So if you know of a vacancy that you think they might be interested in, or they know someone who might be interested, share that valuable information. Just like Jose was talking about in getting this event started, the power of networking really got the word out and helped the event to really get launched in such a short amount of time. So let's look at some more specific ways. This is something that I share with a lot of my students. Now that we've looked at some of those general tips, this is a good way to figure out how to make new connections with people you don't know via LinkedIn. Okay, so this is something that I think a lot of students that I work with are uncomfortable with, and they don't know where to start. And so I recommend checking out the U of L Alumni tab on LinkedIn. So if you go to the search bar there in the top left-hand corner of your screen, and you would type in University of Louisville, you would select the school page, and from there, there's an alumni tab. And then you'll see on that right-hand image, there are currently 96, close to 97,000 alumni registered on the LinkedIn site. And you have access to their information, and you can reach out to them if you're interested in learning more about them or getting that advice. I've used this feature many times to reach out to establish contacts for some of the students that I work with to schedule informational interviews. I've been very surprised with the openness of U of L alumni in wanting to speak with students and graduates and be helpful in that way. You can even be more specific when you search there. If you hit the add button there by what they study, you can put in additional fields and be more specific as far as title, keyword, company. So if you're interested in some individuals that work at an organization that you're interested in, you could look and find that. And again, you know, you may not hear from everyone that you message, but you would probably be surprised at the amount of connections that you could start to build in this way. So here's an example of what we found when we typed in public health. You can see there's 514 alumni, so that will help you narrow your search a bit more and be more strategic in who you're looking to connect with. But from there, you would scroll down and you would see their profiles, and you could review their pages to see if there's someone that you might be interested in actually sending a connection invite to. But resist that urge to hit automatically connect because you want to send a personalized greeting, and I'll show you what that might look like in just the next few slides. But you know, when you're looking at the pages, see how many connections they have, because if they don't have maybe say 100 or so, they may not be on there very much. And so look at that and note that maybe they haven't been on there for a while, or they're just kind of getting their feel for it. But that's something to point out and to note. But always send that personalized invitation to connect. It's very important to build a quality network. So take the time to send a brief personal note as to why you're connecting. And so when you do this, I also recommend that you use your desktop version as opposed to the app, because when you use the app, it's a little bit more tricky to send that personalized note. It'll generally want to just send the standard connection invite there through the app. So I recommend using the computer and being very thoughtful as you go through the results. And so here's an example of a personalized connection invitation. This is something that you could say to someone that you don't know, but that you're interested in connecting with. And so this could be used as either a LinkedIn invite, or it could be an email if you were given a lead as far as you should reach out to this person. You could tailor some of the verbiage, but this is a good example of how you kind of begin that establishing that connection. So simply it says, I found your name through the U of L Alumni Connections tab on LinkedIn. As a senior at U of L, I'm majoring in psychology with a minor in English. After graduation, I'm interested in pursuing a graduate degree in counseling and working with children with behavioral problems and families in transition. I see from your profile that this is your specialty area. Would you be open to letting me email, call, or meet for a video chat so that I can learn more about your career path? Like you, I'm currently in Louisville and would be available to meet at your earliest convenience. And then the person gives specific availability. And lastly, appreciate your consideration of my request for advice, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. So notice in this sample that you start out by indicating something that you both have in common. So that would be your education. And then you give them some idea about what it is you're interested in pursuing. So having some knowledge of the career fields of your interest. And then having that specific ask, would you be willing to connect so that I could talk with you? And then also always expressing that gratitude and appreciation for their time. So here are some additional ways to build your network. In addition to LinkedIn, which is a really, really great way to start, there are a lot of ways to find new contacts. And so, especially now with the pandemic, there have been a lot of opportunities to attend conferences and events for free. So seek out virtual networking events just like this. There are webinars, conferences, take advantages of those opportunities. And then, when you attend, take notes, write down names of the presenters, and then you can connect with them in LinkedIn or email them. Include in your personalized invitation request that you attended their conference or their meeting, and maybe some key takeaways that you had from their presentation. And so that's a really good way to establish a contact with some influential people in your area that can help you down the road. And then next, Eventbrite. So they have over 350 free virtual events, and they range on a variety of topics, and most of those are free. And then Handshake. So if you're not familiar with Handshake, Handshake is the University Career Center's career management platform. And as of today, there are 30 plus national virtual events that are from employers. And so you can get some information about their company culture, also some tips on interviewing. There's a variety of topics there. And then look for the opportunities with different professional associations. So for example, Elsherm, who's here today, they have on their website some upcoming events for members and some things to participate there. And so if you're not sure what professional associations your career field would entail, we have a really good website, our resource on our website called What Can I Do with This Major? And so if you go to our website at louisville.edu/career and look under student resources, career resources, and then career exploration, you'll find that link. And we put it in the chat, but it's a subscription, and so you actually have to access it from our website. But there's some really good tips and strategies there, as well as at the bottom, for each area of study, there is a list of professional associations. And so really encourage people to look at those, especially if you're a student, because you can tap into some of those student memberships, which are really often discounted. And so you can start now by looking for ways to grow your experiences, add to your resume, as well as network. And then this one is something that I think is interesting is if you're currently working, you might consider, reaching out to some senior leaders to see if they would be open to joining an online work group that you may have or a meeting, and coordinate that so that they could share their thoughts on a particular topic. And I think with the current, crisis, this has raised a lot of new issues for business leaders to consider, whether it's the future of your industry, how your company is responding to particular challenges, or the future of global work. There are some things there that you could get them to put their voice on. And, you obviously want to follow proper protocol before you did this, but because, in some offices, you can simply invite a few people and have it grow from there, but it may be important that you check with your manager before you do that. However, it's a new opportunity to connect with some people in your field and your company, because before the pandemic, really a drop by from a high-level leader may have been very difficult, if not impossible. But now with most everyone working virtually and the leader not having to travel, a 15-minute appearance is often not that difficult to arrange. And so if you do consider this, and this is something that you go forward with, just remember to add them to your networking list and, to your connections on LinkedIn, and then be sure to thank them for their willingness to participate, and keep in touch with them. And then another way is also through LinkedIn, but consider joining some LinkedIn groups as a means for staying current in your area, and also for networking. And so these provide an opportunity for you to network with people in your profession or in your interest area. And it's a part of your personal branding as well. And so you can join, I think, up to 50 groups on LinkedIn, but you don't want to join that many because the goal is to actively participate in that conversation. and meet people through that avenue. So that is something that you might want to check out on LinkedIn, is see what groups are out there and see if anything fits your interest area. And then lastly, if you would like to explore additional opportunities to gain experience for your resume and also network, I want you to check out our landing page for the Parker Dewey platform. And Jose is going to put that in the chat. Parker Dewey is a micro internship platform. And what a micro internship is it's a project-based work opportunity, and they are paid. They provide you an opportunity to gain experience in a particular area and also build a contact at that company. So on Tuesday, we did a webinar all about Parker Dewey. So I'm also going to see if Jose will post that video in the chat here so you can get more information on micro internships and if those would be a good fit for you. All right, closing thoughts before we jump into your questions. You know, it's very important that you have and know some basic interests about careers that interest you. So if you're at a stage where you're not really sure of what it is that you want to do or that you want to study, really want to encourage you, if you're a University of Louisville student, to connect with your career coach, and we can talk with you more about your career exploration. And remember that when you are networking, you're building a relationship over time. So you want to start early. That relationship should be mutually beneficial. So be friendly and be helpful when you can. And a part of that staying in contact piece of the networking cycle is reaching out to share information, ideas, resources, and contacts when you're in a position to help. You should think of everyone you meet as a networking contact. Could be someone you meet in line somewhere, or a professor, or a friend of the family. And in order to cultivate your network efficiently, keep a well-documented record of your contacts, the details of the conversation, and the follow-up information. And so again, we will send over that tracking tool after today's webinar. And I guess with that, let's see if we have any questions.
Yes, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat or also just ask them. But we do have some questions prepared here from students, so maybe we'll start with that and give everyone some time to think of some additional questions. So Mallory, one of the first questions that we've gotten was, if someone's not very good at networking or just in general with people, someone who might be more introverted and has some anxiety around reaching out, what would you suggest they would do, like some little things or tips to get started, really?
That's a really good question. I think for some, networking comes a little bit easier. Maybe you're very extroverted, you enjoy talking with people, that's a part of your nature. But most everyone is not that way, and that's okay. I think, again, when we think about networking, we think about going up to everyone and being comfortable and confident. And it's really about quality over quantity. And so I think if you're someone who feels uncomfortable reaching out to someone, then really the landscape now of virtual networking makes it a little bit easier, right? So you might not feel comfortable talking or making that initial contact at, say, an event where you show up and you walk in there alone. But if you're reaching out to someone on LinkedIn and you're sending a note or an email, there's less of that pressure to get that immediate response. And so I think even before the pandemic, people were using LinkedIn and connecting virtually. And now it's just, that's what we have to do. And so I would encourage people who are not comfortable with attending events or naturally extroverted or outgoing to consider, starting again with the people that they know, maintaining the relationships that maybe they already have, and kind of get their comfort there. And then that's why I always suggest then, after you've went through your existing relationships, reach out to the U of L alumni group. If you're a student here, you already share that in common with them. So it's a safer space, I feel like, to explore rather than I'm just going to message someone that is the CEO. I mean, because I wouldn't encourage you to do that if you didn't know them or have some kind of context there. So I guess in short, really, it's a little bit easier now to network and not have to feel so pressured in going to events and that instant conversation or feeling of fear of rejection.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I can speak from experience. LinkedIn has been a really great tool to just connect with a lot of people. I mean, I'm still starting out in my career and I'm connecting, and it's been a great resource to meet people and just talk to people. And it has removed the anxiety a little bit that you might have when you walk up to somebody.
Absolutely.
All right. The next question relates to some don'ts maybe about networking. So are there some things that students or just people in general should avoid when they network?
I think one of the first things that comes to mind is don't ask for a job outright, right? I think sometimes it's very tempting to be like, hi, my name is Mallory Newby. Would you hire me? You don't want to do that. I mean, you want to see this more as a marathon and not a sprint. It's about establishing a relationship, and that takes time. So don't directly ask for a job or a lead. Instead, take that from a perspective of curiosity conversation, a learning opportunity, and form that over time. It's more of a natural kind of thing. So in addition to that, I mean, don't also be unappreciative. So if you do connect with someone and they spend some time talking with you, you should absolutely send them a thank you email after that meeting, after that phone call, after they took that time, and let them know that you appreciate their time and maintain that contact by following up in that way. So showing your appreciation for their time is really something that I think is very important. And also be prepared. Although it's an opportunity for you to learn and get information, you want to do some research on them as well so you can ask more specific questions and also not rely on them to provide you all the information, because we do have a lot of access to things on our own. So I would encourage someone in networking to be prepared as you can and do research if you have that chance in advance. I think those are some key don'ts, but I'm sure there might be a few that I'm missing. If you all can think of anything, Jose or Annika, please feel free to chime in.
I think you hit that pretty good. we can continue with that, unless Jose, do you have anything to add? And we'll just go ahead and move on to the next question.
No, I think she covered it very well.
Mm-hmm. So the next question that we've collected from students kind of relates to the cycle of networking that you presented earlier. So obviously you want to stay connected. Do you have some tips, some easy and effective ways to stay connected once you've had the initial contact and you kind of built the connection? So over time, how do you keep your network growing and thriving, if you will?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's why I think it's important to have them all in one place, so you know who it is that's in your network. And if you're someone who is organized, you'll find it easy to keep a spreadsheet and kind of formulate those how you would like. But one of the ways to stay in touch with them is, again, share opportunities. So just like this event that was planned, you sent that out to your network, you shared with them this information, vacancies, if there's something open in your workplace that you want to pass along, that's a great way to keep that relationship going. And then also further networking for other individuals. So I think that there's a variety of ways to do that, but keep in mind that you just want to consider it as an opportunity for you to be helpful as well. So checking in on them if you haven't spoken a while, maybe circling back around to see, if we weren't in COVID, I might say, see if you can schedule a coffee meeting or catch up, before work in that way. But now it could be just scheduling a virtual meeting or a call, checking in just to stay in touch. But sharing information that you have, updates, that kind of thing is a really good way to keep that network cultivated.
All right, great. Thanks for answering that. It looks like Derek Berry has a question, and I'm just going to read it from the chat room. It says, online students are traditionally at a disadvantage for connections made with instructors and/or departments. Some programs require internships and others do not. Does the university have any plans to include networking or internships as undergraduate or graduate requirements, or just adding it to the curriculum in general? I think that's a really good question.
That is a really good question, and I really believe that is important piece to education. Some majors are required an internship, some are not. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that question because that comes from the academic affairs. As the University Career Center, we are a part of the Student Affairs Division, okay? So our goal this year is to integrate ourselves into the curriculum, okay? So we're working very hard to connect with faculty and to make our services more accommodatable to online students. But what I can say is that prior to the pandemic, we didn't serve our online students the way that we should. I would schedule phone appointments, but now, you can meet with your career coach, you can meet with your academic advisor through Microsoft Teams and have a virtual appointment. So I feel like from the student affairs side and the University Career Center, we, are able now to kind of bridge that gap between on campus and off campus. And then also when it comes to getting experience, to the piece about internships, I'm very excited about the partnership that we have with Parker Dewey, because it is an opportunity for online students, for our students that work in the Metro College program at UPS, to get some experience in an industry, to get paid, and to keep working if you are already working full time. So definitely check out that the Parker Dewey landing page. It's very simple to get set up and to apply for projects. But I would encourage you, although, academic wise, I can't speak to that and what those plans look like, I would encourage you to take advantage of the Career Center, because we really are here to help you bridge that gap and find opportunities so that you graduate with feeling the best prepared that you can.
Is there maybe a contact that you know of at the university for academic affairs that Derek or just we could reach out to get some information?
I can definitely look at that. Off the top of my head, I would have to say I can't say right now. But, a good place to start would be looking at, I'm on presenter mode, so I can't look on my laptop, but if you would say what your major is, then start with your college there, because, I work with the College of Ed, I work with the Kent School of Social Work, and each institution here or division, department has their own dean. And so it might be better not to go to the direct, the provost who's in charge of all of the academic departments, but more specifically your area.
Mm-hmm. All right. Does anyone?
I think, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think that it's probably a good person to reach, or a place to start, is most of the organizations at campus. They'll have an online virtual meeting for that school year and kind of encompass everything that's going on. That's probably be a good start. Kind of like an open house is what they host. That might be a good start to ask that question.
Absolutely.
That's right, yeah. All right, does anyone have another question? Please feel free to just post it, or you can just call it out. I'll give you some more time. I'll move on to one of the last questions that we have from students. And it's kind of talking about the characteristics of a good network. It's like, what would you say, Mallory, a good network is like? Like, how many contacts, what type of contacts, how do you know that you are heading in the right directions as you're building relationships?
That's a really, really good question. I do believe in the quality over quantity, because we know from that networking cycle, a good network is one that you can cultivate. So if you have too many connections, you know, it's a lot to manage. So I don't think that there's any set number that you should have. I think you should, you know, assess what you have now, who you would like to connect, but it's good to have a good range of, you know, people that are your peers that you can share, you know, information with and bounce ideas off. And then it's also good to have those that are in roles that you want to be or that you're interested in being. So someone that has more experience than you. But also in that network, people that maybe you can help out, that you can mentor. So I think it just, you need to see where you are in your career, what it is your goals, you know, are, and formulate those, and then see who you have and then who you need to connect with and go from there.
All right, great. And I think those were all the questions from us. If anyone else who's on right now has any other questions, now is your last chance. But I already want to thank you, Mallory, so much for putting this presentation together. It's been really helpful, I think, not only for me, but other students and anyone really who joined. And also thank you, Sam and Raleigh, for joining and kind of publicizing our student chapter and our activities over through LSHRM. We really do appreciate it.
And before we close, thank you all. I just wanted to share some leads with you all in terms of our upcoming virtual career fairs. We have the Fall Internship and Career Fair, which will be on Wednesday, September 30th at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then the Graduate and Professional School Fair on Wednesday, October 14th at the same time. Those are all going to be in Handshake, and you can Jose might have the link to put in the chat for Handshake. If you haven't ever logged in, you'll use your U-Link if you're a U of L student, and you can see those upcoming events.
I'm posting that link right now. So there it is. Well, Mallory, really thank you. I can't say thank you enough. We're really thankful for your time that was spent with us today. I'm confident that the skills that you taught us today will pay dividends as we begin to sharpen our skills and not building a network, but really building professional relationships. That was the biggest thing I took away, relationships. That's what it's about. So thank you. Thanks for everyone for joining. This will be posted on our YouTube page, so please follow us on the U of L Student Chapter YouTube page. We'll send out links, and we look forward to our next meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.